Guys, I'm officially triggered. I don't know how many of you, like I am, are scared to go to your mailbox every time the Bank of Canada raises prime interest rates, but here we have it.
So to help Jane get over her fear of being triggered and to make sure everyone is educated and up to speed with what trigger rates and trigger points are, that's what today's video is all about.
So first things first, we have to talk about the different types of mortgage products available. You either have a fixed rate or a variable rate. If you have a fixed rate mortgage, you don't need to be triggered by trigger rates and trigger points, but there is some information that you will need to know that we'll be bringing to you in another video. Today, our only concern is variable rate mortgages.
Now, under the variable rate umbrella, there are two different types of products. There's a true variable rate mortgage and an adjustable rate mortgage. An adjustable rate mortgage is when your payments are directly affected by increasing or decreasing interest rates. That means when rates go up, your payment goes up, and when rates come down, your payment comes down. On the flip side, a true variable rate mortgage is when your payments are static, and what's affected by increasing or decreasing interest rates is the amount that is allocated to principal versus the amount that's allocated to interest.
Now, there are some pros and cons to adjustable rate mortgages. The pro being that your amortization doesn't change. So as interest rates rise, although your payments rise, you're paying the same amount of principal off on your mortgage. The con of an adjustable rate mortgage is, well, in an environment like this where interest rates are rising pretty rapidly, your payments can get out of hand and budgeting can be really tough.
And it's for this reason that some people might elect to go with a true variable rate product. Because although their amortization schedule might change as a result of increasing rates, their payments are going to stay the same, which makes it much easier to budget your monthly expenses. Now, where you could get into trouble, and the whole topic of today's video, is where trigger points and trigger rates come into play.
So let's break it down. Trigger points versus trigger rates and how they affect you if you have a true variable mortgage.
Now, a trigger rate is hit when your monthly payments are no longer covering the interest portion of your mortgage. Now, you might be asking, if my payments aren't changing but rates are going up, what's happening? And the answer to that question is that your amortization schedule is being extended. Whereas you might have initially started off on 25-year amortization, as rates go up and your payment stays the same, you can see that amortization getting to 35, 45, 60 years or more. Your trigger rate is hit when your monthly payments are no longer covering the interest portion of your mortgage. In other words, not only are you not paying off any principal, but you're not even paying off the full amount of interest.
Now at this point, a couple things could happen. Your lender will likely give you a courtesy call and discuss your options and make some suggestions. Those suggestions are: 1, increase your monthly payments so that you are covering all of the interest on that loan. Now, the second option is to make a lump sum payment to bring down the principal so that your monthly payments will actually cover the interest of the loan borrowed. This isn't always possible, especially with budgeting. And the third option is to switch over to a fixed rate mortgage. Yes, your payments will increase because fixed rates tend to be higher than variable rates, but from a budgeting perspective, you'll know what your monthly costs are going to be, and it will keep you on track for your amortization schedule.
Now, it's important to note that this is just a courtesy call, and at this point, you do have a fourth option, which is staying on your current payment plan. Now, what's going to happen when you stay on that plan is that amount of interest that is not being paid by your payments is going to be deferred and added on to the principal amount owing. And this can be a slippery slope because as your principal increases, the cost of borrowing goes up as a result of having a higher principal amount to pay off. And this transitions us nicely into when you can hit your trigger point.
Now, the trigger point is hit when that deferred interest causes your mortgage amount to exceed a certain threshold of the value of the property. Now, if you have a conventional mortgage, that threshold is typically 80%. Alternatively, if you have an insured mortgage, that threshold tends to be 105%.
Now, just for some easy math, if you bought $1 million property, your trigger point would be set at $800,000. And if you're on an insured mortgage, technically you can't buy for $1 million, but you can buy for $1 less. Your trigger point would be at $1,050,000. One last important thing to note on trigger points is that the loan to value amount that the bank is going to be looking at is the contract amount at the time that you purchased your property. And that's important because as home values are continuing to slide, the market value of your property could be a lot lower than when you purchased it. However, the bank is going to be looking at the contract price, and that is what they're going to be basing this loan to value amount on.
So it's crucial that you're not hitting that trigger point, because when you do, it's no longer a courtesy call from the bank. They're calling, they're giving you a deadline of how to fix the situation and how to get back on track.
And at this point, if you've gotten yourself to this point, you're probably not in the best financial position to have to make the changes necessary.
So it's really important that if you're concerned that you're hitting your trigger rate, that you're discussing with your lender your options ahead of time so that you're staying on top of it and not letting it snowball and get out of control.
And lastly, of course, none of this is deemed to be mortgage advice, and everything happens on a case-by-case basis. So the most important thing you can do, like Jane said, reach out to your lender or a trusted mortgage broker, go over your finances on an individualized basis, and figure out what the best course of action for you is.